Right, everyone, shall we start? Yes, so we know that some of the students are unable to join. So if you also face any kind of situation, please ask for the recording and please complete your notes. Because why then again, those power cuts are not an excuse for you. Like ගොඩක් students like excuse එකක් කරගෙන තියෙනවා. Other other power cut, so but that is your time anyway, right? So those are temporary things because you should not, I would say, let your goals and objectives down because of these things, right? We know that we have studied this, right? It's WOT analysis. From the internal, external, you will be getting those things, right? Opportunities as well as threats. But it's your duty that how you overcome those and somehow achieve your goals. Correct. So with that message, welcome to a brand new lesson. Lesson number 3 of your grade 12 syllabus, which is the government and business. Okay. Now, every time I start this lesson, for most of the batches, it's not a good moment to talk about the government. හැමදාම මේ lesson එක start කරද්දී මොනවාරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. Right? එක කාලයක් තිබ්බා East attack. So then there was a political crisis 2018. In 2020 again, some conflicts were there. Right now again, you know, how the people think about the government, right? But anyway, we have to study this lesson. And as you can see, this is the content, right? The structure of the government. Now, let me give a quick intro about this lesson, right? How they consist is that we'll be talking about the government and the structure, right? Mainly, we have like a central government, we have provincial council, we have local authorities. Like, well, the three layers are there. And each government have their economic goals, right? Not the political goals, economic goals. So they need to achieve those economic goals. For example, growth of the gross domestic product, providing full employment. But in order to achieve those economic goals, the question arises, can they fulfill those economic goals just by themselves? No, right? They need the help of business. So that is why there's a mutual relationship in terms of the government activities and the business expectations, right? So we'll be coming to this part. And then we'll be discussing about some government policies. You might heard about the government fiscal policy, government monetary policy. We'll be talking about the taxes. Now, the government fiscal policy is all about government income and expenses. Now, when you come to income, that's all about tax and non-tax income. So we'll be talking about a couple of taxes. Api taxes varga gana kata gana. Edawa danna magana VAT, value added tax income tax, corporate tax. So likewise, the types of taxes will be discussing comes under the fiscal policy. And also government expense side of that. Mainly we have like capital expenditures, expenditures on the investments, and the recurring expenditures in terms of the health, providing health, education, and all the stuff, right? And then we move into the monetary policy, where we'll be talking about the interest rate, money supply, even again the central bank involvement in terms of the monetary policy, right? Why the government increases interest rate, decreases interest rate, right? How the money supply, interest rate, and so that's going to impact the general price level or the inflation of the country. Right? Those stuff comes under the monetary policy. Apart from that, one of a trending topic nowadays, that is in terms of the consumer protection, we'll be talking about the Paribodhika Arakshana, consumer protection. So there are rules and regulations, right, in order to protect the consumer. And then the Consumer Affairs Authority. Apart from that, we'll be talking about some standards in terms of national standard, Sri Lanka Standard Institute, and also some international standard as well, ISO standards. Right? So those are the key main topics that we'll be discussing with you in this lesson. Kind of important and in terms of weightage, kind of high lesson, because as you know, in the grade 12 syllabus, there are some key topics, you know, like the lesson number 1 and the lesson number 3, it pass the lesson number 4, 7, 11. So likewise, key topics are there in terms of the content. Right? And also there are some relationship with this lesson and your economics part as well. Yes, so then I expect that you know some sort of things about that as well. But you don't have to worry, I'll explain those from the beginning. Right, because you know, as you always know, business studies is a kind of a mixed subject, right? Make accounting part, key back in economics, IT, okay, product mix lesson again, right? So guys, you know, talking about the first one, before we start the structure of the government, what do you think? No, the term government. Government any idea? Government. Government as a stakeholder, right? As a stakeholder, government is one party. Right? What do you think, guys? Can we see the chat box? What do you think a government is? Is that really necessary to have a government? The question arises nowadays. The government right? So what do you think? Do we necessarily have to a government? What do you think, guys? Yes, government. Any idea? Yes, so government is a group of people, right? The organization who governs a state, right? Yes, so that a governing body. So I got answer. A force to implement rules and regulations in order to control and protect the material country. Yes, one of the government prior objective is to protect their citizen. Yes, to protect their citizen and to implement the rules and regulations. And then that's again one country, one law, right? But it's a real equation, it practically applies. So likewise to protect their people, yes, to govern a state, a specific at the territory level, right? So that's what a government is there. And then as per Sri Lankan context, we have like the structure of the government. So we can mainly divide into three parts. And the Sri Lanka government structure එක අපිට බෙදන්න පුළුවන් කොටස් තුනකට. එහෙනම් එකකට අපි කියනවා central government කියලා. Central government. අපි කියන මධ්‍යම රාජ්‍ය central government. And then you have provincial councils. Provincial councils. නේද? ඔයාලා කියනවා පළාත් සභා කියලා. In some countries, they known as the state government. State government. මොනවාද? අපි කියන්නේ state එකක් කියලා. දැන් ලංකාවේ state කියන වචනේ use කරන්නේ. ලංකාවේ කියන පළාතක් කියලා. We have Western Province, Central Province, Southern Province, Uva Province, Sabaragamuwa, right? Northwestern. So likewise, the provincial councils are there. But if you consider a country like India, then අපි කියන්නේ ප්‍රාන්ත කියලා. Tamil Nadu is one state. And also if we think about a country like United States and Australia, so they also have a states. For example, they have like California states, right? Texas, so kind of states. And Australia, you have like Victoria, Queensland, like states with and state government and also the central or the federal government also there, right? And Lankaවේ තියෙන central government and the provincial council. අපි කියන්නේ බස්නාහිර ප්‍රාන්තය කියලා නේද? එහෙම කියලා අපි බස්නාහිර ප්‍රාන්තය දකුණු ප්‍රාන්තය එහෙම කියන්නේ, right? So we use the word පළාත or the province කියන word. So we have central government and provincial council. දැන් මම එක ප්‍රශ්නයකට අහන්නද? ලංකාවේ provincial councils කීයක් විතර තියෙනවද? දැන් සාමාන්‍ය ඔයගොල්ලෝ හවුද United States නේද? US වල states 50ක් or 52ක් ඒ වගේ නේද? Australia again I think like 9 or 8 states. ඉන්දියාවෙත් තියෙනවා කියන්නේ ප්‍රාන්ත ගොඩක්. අර කතාවක් කියන්නේ ඉන්දියාවේ එක ප්‍රාන්තයක් ලොකු ලංකාවට වඩා කියලානේ. What do you think, guys? Lanka provincial council? Any idea? Number of provincial councils in Sri Lanka? Yes, 9 provincial councils තියෙනවා නේද? හරි. බලන්න ඒක මම ඔයාට ඔයාගේ ටියුට් එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා. මම ඒ පැත්තට එන්නම්. හරි. මෙන්න ඊට පස්සේ අපිට තියෙනවා අපේ අනිත් ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක මොකක්ද? Local government. අපි නැත්තම් කියන local authorities කියලා. නේද? අපි කියනවා ඒකට in Sinhala I don't exactly remember that. හරි මොනවාද? Local authorities මොනවාද? Municipal councils, town councils, ප්‍රාදේශීය සභා මේ ඔක්කොටම අපි කියනවා local authority කියලා. local authority. අර අපි කියන්නේ සිංහලෙන් පුංචි ඡන්දයක් කියලා නේද? local government එක local election කියලා අපි කියන්නේ නේද? ප්‍රාදේශීය සභාව ඒ වගේ පත් කරගන්න local authority. නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා local government කියලා. local government. හරි එන්න බලන්න ඔයාගේ ටියුට් එකේ page number එක කියන්න because guys මේ ටියුට් එක බැලුවොත් මේ ටියුට් එක parts දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි ඔයාගේ theoretical දේවල් තියෙනවා. අනිත් එක some additional points are there. additional points. additional note එකක් තියෙනවා slides විදිහට. හරි page number එක කිව්වොත් හරියටම page number 23 බලන්න ඔයාගේ page number 23 එකට එන්න ටියුට් එකේ. I'll also share the screen. page number 23. මෙතනින් පස්සේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම ඔයාගේ additional notes. additional notes. I hope you found that page මේ බලන්න මේ විදිහට මම දාලා තියෙනවා additional note එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ for your knowledge. Right. හරි මේ බලන්න. Yes, so these are the 9 provincial council නේද? provincial council නාමයට මේ flags උත් තියෙනවා. Have you ever seen those flags? How the Western province flags looks like, how the Sabaragamu province likewise, guys. You have the Western province, you have Sabaragamu, Northwestern, Central, Northern province, North Central, Southern, Eastern, and Uber province. Right? In a province නාමය මතක තියාගන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. That is something for your general knowledge, right? I hope you know that. So this is something to explain the concept of provincial councils. එනවා නිකන් දැනගන්න නාමයක් තියෙන if in case දෙක තුනක් ඔයාලට ලියන්න පුළුවන්. No doubt with that. ඒත් එක මම දාලා තිනවා මේ කොහොමද මේ provincial councils ලංකාවට ආවේ කියන එක. right? මේක ඇත්තටම ආවේ as an impact from India, right? Kind of the India wanted to have these provincial council system in Sri Lanka, actually, right? But the division of the power, right? To give the powers to those states. Then ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අනිත් countries වල දැන් ලංකාවේ මෙහෙම provincial council තිබුණාට they don't have such a power to control. අපි ඒක ඉගෙන ගන්නවද? Because most of the things controlled by the central government. හැබැයි ඔයා බැලුවොත් අනිත් countries වල ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ state එකට තියෙන බලයක්. So they have the power. For example, even country like USA. ඔයාලට මතකයි COVID කාලේ සමහර states වලට lockdown. සමහර state lockdown නැහැ. ඒතර ඒගොල්ලන් තියෙන එක one country ඒකවත් එකම policy එක නෙමෙයි මුළු රටටම apply වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. So those cases are there. So even we have these provincial councils, actually they don't have much power in terms of that as that's province, right? So this is as a controversial decision that took in 1987, right? As per the 13th amendment to the constitution, right? So those are all for your additional knowledge. You can see the fact that right, so provincial council constitute the intermediate level of the government. Yes, intermediate. Why the intermediate level? Because it's somewhere between the top government and the first line of the government, which is a local authority. That's why it's an intermediate level. So this is as a controversial decision was affected through the 13th amendment to the constitution. 13 වෙන සංශෝධනය කියලා 13 වෙන විවස්ථා සංශෝධනය. So that's as a result of the 13th amendment to the constitution. So provided by law, the Provincial Council Act number 42 of 1987. So the legal framework involved the relocation of specific government powers and functions to the provincial councils. හැබැයිම ලොකුවට powers දීලා නැහැ. Still the central government keep the most of the power with them, but still some of the functions they have relocated to the provincial councils. Correct. Local authorities ගැන අපි දන්නවා. Yes, municipal councils, urban councils, and pradesh sabhas. In English also it says Pradeshi Sabha. එම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. ඒක අපි අර ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී කියන in English also ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී. So likewise, so Pradeshi Sabha. Okay. So comfort, convenience and well-being of the community of the respective areas. Then mama example එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. මේ බලන්න. Now after the central government you have the province. එනකොට මෙතන province එක තියෙනවා. Western province එක. Western province එකේ district තුනක් තියෙනවා නේද? මේක දාලා තියෙන්නේ Colombo and Gampa only. So you have Kalutara district as well, right? Kalutara district as well. So each district consists of some MCs. Then අපි කියනවා municipal councils. For example, Colombo Municipal Council. අපි කියන කොළඹ මහනගර සභාව. So municipal council මහනගර සභාව. Right? So අපි කියන CMC කියලා කියන්නේ. And then you have like Dehiwala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council. You have Javadharpura Kotte Municipal Council, Kaduvela Municipal Council, Moratuwa, Nigambo, and so that's in terms of the Colombo district. And from Gampa you got Nigambo and Gampa Municipal Council. So Kalutara, maybe Kalutara Municipal Council is there. And then under each municipal council also you got some urban councils or town councils or Pradeshi Sabha, right? You got Colonel, you got Sitawagapura, you got Maharagama, Boralaskamu, Caspavel, so which comes under again Colombo, and you got Homagama, Kotikawa, the Sitawaka, so you know the Pradeshi Sabha, the municipal council, sorry, the urban councils of the Pradeshi Sabha. So this is how the structure is, right? You know, apart from the central government. Now we have a clear idea about the provincial councils and the local authorities. And again, after clear understanding, provincial council taking our examples down now, and also local authority. Now, what about the central government? What do you think? What and who comes under the central government? That is the including the president. So central government consists with entire country, yes. So the parties involved is the president, prime minister, and the cabinet, right? So the cabinet and the parliament, and also the municipal parliament speaker. You know the speaker, maybe the central government consists with the president, prime minister, cabinet ministers, and the parliament, and including the speaker. ඒක තමයි central government එක. ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් president නැහැනේ. එක පළාතෙන් presidents නැහැ. පළාතෙන් parliaments නැහැ. Speakers නැහැ. So which represent the whole country. So they control the whole country. So that's how the structure of the government in terms of central and provincial council, which is the intermediate level. I make an intermediate level again. Local authority and පල්ලෙහා මේක නේද? Top මේක තමයි central. ඒ දෙක මැද්දේ තියෙන නේ intermediate level. The provincial council and you have the local authority. Correct? Right. After making a complete කරගෙන tute එකේ. So we'll come back to the how the government involved with the businesses. Right? So let's complete that part. So guys, what you can do is I think දණ්ඩමත් මේක දාගෙන නැති සමහර විට. So this is our day plan. Can you take out your short notebooks? You know how our class work. Apart from the tute, you have to maintain a short notebook. So this is our day plan. Write the government and business, our main topic, day 1, and the subtopics that we'll be discussing, the structure of the government, which we have already done, and how government involved with the business. So likewise, the topics that we'll be covering today. This part no need. මොකද මේක වගේ tute එකේ මම දාලා තිනවා. එතනට ඇවිල්ලා අපිට ඒක complete කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? This one not need. Right? Yes, could you please take this and this one in the tute, right? Page number 2, as you can see, page number 2 will order pull up central, provincial, local, And also please write our boxes දාලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකට examples ලියන්න තියෙනවා. මොනවාද central government? මොනවාද provincial? එහෙනම් province දෙක තුනක් ඔයාලට ලියන්න පුළුවන් නේද? Western province, southern, central, right? So a couple of examples. And also for the local authorities consist of municipal councils, urban councils, and Pradeshi Sabha. Urban council වල තවත් word එකක් කියනවා town council කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ municipal councils කියන්නේ මහනගර සභා. Urban council කියන්නේ නගර සභා. බලන්න කොච්චර තියෙනවද කියලා to govern this small country you have a 3 layer of structure plus මේවට ඔක්කොම කී දෙනෙක් විතරද? I think more than 8,000 people including the central government. දැන් මෙතනම ඉන්නනේ prime minister president දෙන්නයි cabinet එක මම හිතන්නේ 30ක් 40ක් වගේ නෑ නෙච්චර නෑ. ඊට පස්සේ 225 MPs in parliament speaker. ඊට පස්සේ මේ හැම province එකකම ඉන්නවා පළාත් සභා මන්ත්‍රීවරු, පළාත් ministers ලා ඉන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ municipal councils කොච්චරක් තියෙනවද? urban councils. And so 8,000 plus a crowd is there to govern this small country. Correct. So I think it's too much, right? What do you think? Alright, correct. Shall we take this, please? So you got the municipal council, urban council, town council, and this one Pradeshi Sabha. PM means Prime Minister, President, Prime Minister, Cabinet, Parliament, Speaker, the people who involved with the central government affairs, and you know the provincial council and the local authority. Right, so I'll give like another 2 minutes and then we'll discuss how the government involved with business. There are ways that they intervene, right? There are ways that they involve. So let's have a discussion on that. Right, I hope we are done with this. Correct. Now, how the government involved with the businesses? There are some ways they, I would say, involved with the businesses. Let me explain. Right. So, guys, the government sometimes involved with the business as an infrastructure provider. But it's a really question nowadays whether the government is fulfilling that, right? Because there's no electricity, there's no power, right? Which means the government failed to provide the required infrastructures, right? Correct. First thing, so government involved with the businesses, how? By providing infrastructure facilities. What do you mean by infrastructures? Infrastructure facilities. Yes, infrastructure facilities. So which include the electricity, the road network, including highways, ports, harbors, airports, everything. Because why? Business cannot establish those infrastructures and then start a business. Then it's a really cost. Then business එකකට පුළුවන් ද ගමට යන පාරක් හදාගෙන ගමට ලයිට් උත් අරගෙන business එකක් පටන් ගත්තොත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ capital එක එතනම ඉවර වෙනවා. Right? නේද? පාලමක් නැත්නම් පාලමක් හදාගෙන no. Government, one of the key responsible of the government is to provide the infrastructure facilities to its citizens and to the businesses, right? Electricity, power, right? Water facilities. So including those all comes under the infrastructure facilities, because then only you can, smoothly conduct the business, correct? If not, you see the consequences nowadays. People are claiming that, I think impact because as per the schedule in our area, I think that's 7 o'clock, 7 to 8, another 1 hour power cut is there. So likewise, sometimes it's a really challenge, for me to conduct classes, right? So I have to shift then and the other classes. Not only that, so every party is impact because of the lack of infrastructure facilities. So because you cannot run your business, right? So one of the key responsibility to provide the infrastructures, correct? And then the government involved with the businesses sometime as a customer. So government sometimes the customer. So customer is the government sometimes. So let's imagine that the government is purchasing some computers from another company. Government is purchasing some office equipments from a company, purchasing vehicle from a business. And also you can see that පහුගිය දවස්වල තිබුණා අර V වගේ දේවල් නේද B එළවලු වගේ මිලදී ගන්නවා ගොවීන්ගේ. So paddy and everything they purchase from the farmers. So that is also the customer. Who's the customer then? Government become the customer. So that's another party that you can see government involved. So then as a customer, business, the government involved with the businesses. So they become the customer and they do purchase goods and services from the, I would say, from the businesses, right? Correct. And, at the same time, when they involve as a customer, sometimes as a competitor as well. මොනවාද තරගකරුවෙක් විදියට රජයේ තරගකරුවෙක් කියන්නේ government also operating the same business like private sector. For example, there are so many examples. Now you got some government telecommunication company, something like SLT. So I would say SLT versus Dialog. Dialog belongs to private sector. SLT also telecommunication provider, but belongs to the government. I විදිහට අපි ගත්තොත් SLTV. The SLTV, we can see CTV in SLTV versus private buses. You can see the competition. ඒකේ තරගේ වාට පාරේදීම බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් සමහරවිට. නේද? රේස් එකට යනවා. ඒතර තරගේ පෙනි තරගයක් තියෙනවා sometimes. Right? ඊට අමතරව මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Government banks තියෙනවා නේද? අපි මේ ගැන කතා කරන lesson number 7 එකේදී. උදා government banks mainly දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව තවත් එක බැංක් එකක් විදිහට ගන්න පුළුවන් අපිට example එකක් විදිහට BOC People's Bank ඊට පස්සේ NSB නේද ඒ වගේ banks private sector public sector ඒත් එකම ඉතින් ඔයා දන්න private sector banks කීපයක්ම තියෙනවා නේ ගොඩක් තියෙනවා HNB like Sampath commercial පැහැදිලිද එහෙනම් government as a competitor government එකත් ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක තරග කරනවා. තව ගොඩක් example තියෙනවා. අපි ගත්තොත් even gas providing company, the Litro Gas also belong to government. So LAF again private sector. And so Litro versus LAF. Hari, what do you think? Do we have any examples to share? Please share if you have any examples. තවත් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි ගත්ත ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එයාලයින් වගේ එකක් belongs to the government. Sri Lanka Insurance belong to government. Eto Sri Lanka Insurance එකත් එක අනිත් insurance. Selinco, AI Insurance, Softlogic, right? ඒත් එකම government newspapers තියෙනවා, government TV channels තියෙනවා. මේ ඔක්කොම එන competitors ලා. Right? So they compete with the private sector similar businesses. So then government involved with the business as a competitor. ඊට අමතරව schools උනක් තියෙනවා නේද? Schools and universities. Schools and universities belong to government schools and government universities. And also at the same time, yes, private sector schools and universities as well. So that's again, that's a competition. So they act as a competitor. What do you think? You got any other questions? Yes, very good. Satosa versus Keels. Right? Yes, very good one. Satosa and Keels, Food City, LAF, Arpico, Glowmark, private sector. Yes, Satosa belong to the government. Satosa. Yes. ඒ වගේම ඉතින් අර මම කලින් කිව්වා TV channels නේද? රූපවාහිනී ITN ඔක්කොම government වෙද්දී අනිත් පැත්ත private sector channels ටික තියෙනවා. Right? And also newspaper, also there are government newspapers, අනිත් පැත්ත private sector. මේ විදිහට you can see the competition. So government as a competitor. Correct. Right. Now the next way how the government involved with the business is as a policy maker. Right? So government prepares some policies. As a policy maker. So there are, guys, there are two policies that we need to discuss with you. Mainly, like I said, fiscal policy. Fiscal policy ගැන අපිට කතා කරන්න තියෙනවා. This is one of a government main policy, and the monetary policy, mudal pratipattiya, fiscal policy, and the monetary policy. Again, fiscal policy is all about the government income and expenditures. රජයේ ආදායම සහ වියදම එනම් බදු සහ අනෙකුත් ආදායම. ඊට පස්සේ වගේම වියදමක් ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ monetary policy එක තමයි මේ දවස්වල කතා වෙන්නේ. The interest rate ගැන, inflation, money supply, so all belong to the monetary policy. So we'll be talking about that. So on behalf of the government, central bank is a organization who monitor and execute the monetary policy in Sri Lanka. Monetary board consists of 5 people. So they are the person who control the Sri Lankan economy. So as a policy maker, there are main 2 policies in the government which we will be discussing in a separate subtopic. Policies right. And then as a imposing rules and regulation, yes. Government definition government rules and regulations yes, in a government involved with the business by imposing rules and regulations. Imposing rules and regulations. And the quarantine law, some are businesses not allowed to open. So have to strictly follow some government guidelines. So likewise, imposing rules and regulations. And also, especially when it comes to the businesses, there are a lot of rules and regulation impact. Commercial law, for example, the Companies Act, you have to register, as a company. The Companies Act number 7 of 2007, again a rules and regulation. And the business name audience, partnership audience, Consumer Affairs Authority Act, Standard Act. So maybe there are so how the government involved with the business as a imposing rules and regulations. In a business price controlling mechanisms. Maximum price, minimum price, for example, prices cement maximum price what do you mean by maximum price? So the maximum price to protect the consumers. An example mark pens maximum price at the government mark pen sell sell. So government control the price. Likewise, cement, sahal control price එකක් දැම්මා. දැන් මම ඔක්කොම අයින් කළා. නේද? එතකොට එතනින් එහාට sell කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි එතන ඇත්තටම මොකද වෙන්නේ? So again the customer will not be benefited. Why? So there will be shortage in the goods. And මේ control price එක දාපු ගමන් මිනිස්සු බල්බ් එක හංගනවා. Right? Price ceiling, yes, exactly, yes. What we know as the price is the maximum ceiling and the lower ceiling is there. So the maximum and the minimum price level or the price ceiling, yes, very good. So likewise, by providing rules and regulations, that is going to really impact the businesses, right? Because then sometimes you might see in the news a price against they are taking some I would say legal actions, maybe that as a imposing rules and regulations, right? So what else, guys, we have? Yes, as a tax collector, yes, as a government, they impose various types of taxes on businesses. For example, corporate tax, company tax, or the super gain tax. Have you heard about the super gain tax? Super gain tax. The companies, the profits and income are more than 1 billion. There's a one-time tax called 25%. හැබැයි ඒක lifetime බද්දක් එකපාර ඒක tax එක impose වෙන්නේ. ඊට අමතරව තවත් ගොඩාක් taxes තියෙනවා නේද? අපි ඒවා ගැන කතා කරනවා. So government as a tax collector, right? So imposing tax on businesses. That is why, guys, there are two ways that we calculate profit. නේද? ගොඩක් අයට companies වල profit එක අපි ක්‍රම දෙකකට කියනවා. කොහොමද? අපි කියනවා එකක් PAT. PAT. එහෙනම් මේක අපි කියන profit after tax, PBT, profit before tax. මේ වගේ අපි ඉදිරියේදී කතා කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ tax එකක් තියෙන නිසා. එහෙනම් ලාභය බදු පෙර නේද? tax එකට කලින් ලාභය. tax එකෙන් පස්සේ ලාභය. Because why government charge a tax or impose a tax based on the profit of the companies, right? So likewise, as a tax collector, government involved with the businesses. So you can see the ways that they do involve, right? Now, there's a relationship. There's a relationship with how the government interfere with the businesses and also the structure. So as a infrastructure provider, central government provides some infrastructures. Provincial council provides some infrastructures. Local authority or the local government provides some infrastructures. And also as a customer, sometimes the central government becomes a customer. Sometimes the provincial council, sometimes the local authority. As a competitor, central government has some businesses, provincial councils, and local authorities. So there are some taxes charged by the central government, charged by the provincial council, and charged by the local authority. In some structure based, like for example, some policies. So most of the cases, central government impose some policies, but at the same time, provincial councils also impose some policies, and also the local authority. And also as a competitor, sometimes the central government, sometimes the provincial council, and the local authority. So there are ways that they involve with the business in terms of the level of the government. So each level of government involved with the businesses in such ways. So that's about how the government involved with the businesses. Right. So guys, what you can do, mama involved in a video දාලා තියෙනවා මෙතන page number 2 වල page number 2 අපිට පොඩ්ඩක් එන්න පුළුවන් page number 3. Yes, then අපිට මේ විදිහට table එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. So let's try to complete this table. As you can see, now we are about to discuss what are the infrastructures provided by the central government, by the provincial council, and by the local authorities. Right, shall we write some examples? So this is in terms of the infrastructure provider. Right? Can we write a couple of examples? So the central government, as you can see, right? So the central government provides the electricity. Example, can we write some the road network, road highways? The highways have the provincial councils, right? It's done by the central government. Road, highways, examples infrastructure facilities. We can see the highways, ports, some Nila project like this Colombo Port City, local authorities will, right? So that's about it. Correct. Can we write a couple of examples? And also the provincial council, what they do mainly like maintenance of the roads. They are not constructing the roads. Remember the fact, most of the cases, they are not constructing the roads, but the maintaining those. And also the provincial council, sorry, the local authorities in terms of the removing of the waste. Waste management. And the Pradhi Sabha, waste management. Yes. Can we write a couple of examples? So could you please complete the table? Only the example, right? Because Mevalian table like a order, right? No need to write central provincial. You have to just write in the relevant box. Right, so I hope you're done with the examples. Actually, you can add a lot of examples for the central government. The central government infrastructure facilities provide. ඒකට මම කිව්වේ ඇත්තටම මේ provincial council local authorities තිබුණා කියලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ලොකු වැඩක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. right ඔක්කොම දේවල් කරන්නේ central government එකේ. So that's what you need to highlight. හරිනේ අපි යනවා ඊළඟ කීපෙට competitor, customer and the policy maker. Right? අපි මේවා ගැන discuss කරලා තියෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම. So just to complete the note, could you please write the content? Only the examples in the relevant box. Only the examples. So as a competitor, you can see, yes, I got example ගොඩක් ලියන්න පුළුවන්. TV channels තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි ගොඩක් කතා කරන්නේ example. ටිකක් දාගන්න බලන්න. අපි කතා කරා Sri Lanka Telecom, SLTP, banks, Nitrogas, Satosa. Right, so please write more examples. Do not limit it to the this one. This is just one example. And also provincial councils. Another rent the properties wage maintain karayana. So private sector in each provincial council. Local authorities markets පොදු වෙළඳ සැල කියලා අහලා ඇති. පොදු වෙළඳ සංකීර්ණ හදන markets and renting them like the private sector. And also customer, yes, buying paddy, buying various office equipment, and also like uniforms, those stuff they purchase. And also the provincial council providing and receiving defense services, Just cut this one. Make a interrogam the maintaining symmetries can එක වැරදි මෙතන. So local authority to table ලොකුට customer කෙනෙක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ just purchasing some equipments or තමයි කරන්නේ. ලොකු දෙයක් කරන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Maybe like buying equipments. මොනාරි ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ office furniture ඒ වගේ දේවල්. So they become the customer. Right, the farming policies, like I said, guys, there are two policies. Yes, the monetary policy, fiscal policy. Provincial councils will the business name chart and the business name registration. අපි ඊළඟට කතා කරන අපේ lesson number 4. Business registration එකක් කරන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට province එක base කරගෙන. They maintain this registration, the register. That's the charter. Business name chart equal business registrator. Local authorities just environment policies. ආට මතක තියෙන සමහරවිට අර ඒගොල්ලෝ rule එකක් ගෙනාවා මේ waste බෙදන්න ඕනි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ plastic වෙනම, glasses වගේ දේවල් වෙනම. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලෝ collect කරන්නේ නැහැ. So some environmental policies launched by the local authorities. Could you please write the examples? And if you have any suggestions, if you have any other things, please do not forget to share with us. Or maybe you also have some examples. Right? So then I can share with everyone. So if you have any different ideas, different things, please let me know. So I'll give like another 2 to 3 minutes. If I see writing, please let me know. Right? So then we can save everyone's time. So then we can easily move to the next part. හරි අපිට තව කොටස් දෙකක් කතා කරන්න තියෙනවා, rules and regulation and also as a tax collector. Right, so this is how the government involved. Now, when you say government, yes, all three structures, all three layers involved in the business in different ways. So that's the summary about this part. Right, guys. So I believe we are done with writing. For say writing, like I said, please let me know. Shall we move to our next part? So there are two things that we need to discuss. Two things. Okay, done. Right. Thank you for your update. And here's the rest of the two things. Impose regulation also as so as a central government, yes, consumer affairs authority එකක් අපි මේක ගැන කතා කරනවා මේ lesson එකේදී standard acts තවත් ඔයාලට ලියන්න පුළුවන් නේද companies act එකක් companies act number 7 of 2007 which we'll be discussing in our next lesson number 4 types of business organizations provincial councils වලට ඔයාලට මතකයි එක එක rules especially private buses ගැන මොනවද දන්නවද අර private buses වල තියනවා නේද ලොකු සින්දු දාලා සින්දු කිව්වොත් අර ලොකු ODS එකක් හයි කරලා TV දාලා ඊට පස්සේ ඇතුළ නිකන් තොරණක් වගේ ඩිසයින් කරලා ඒතර ඒ වගේ දේවල් ඇත්තටම කරන්න තහනම් මොකද ඒකෙන් ඒක යන පැසෙන්ජර්ට හොඳක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේද ඇතුළ නිකන් අර DJ එකක් දාලා right ඊට පස්සේ තව හෝන් එක බස් වල සමහරව දකිනවා මේ අර අලියොන්ට ගාන හෝන් එක සමහර මියුසික් එකක් එක්ක යනවා right really disturbing එතකොට ඒවා චෙක් කරලා ඒ ගැන රූල් එකක් ගෙනවා ඒවා අයින් කරන්න එතකොට ඒක ගොඩක් කවර් කරන්නේ මේ provincial council වලින් ඉතින් ඒ වගේ rules උත් කීපයක් තියෙනවා right ඒවා නියමයි yes but ඒවා නියමයි in the sense but it sometimes it's really annoying the passengers sometimes right ඒ කිව්වොත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට නේද අපි මොනවාරි ගමනක් යන ඒ රිලැක්ස් එකේ යන්න තියෙනවා මම කියන්නේ මෙහෙමයි ඒකේ දාන songs එහෙම ඇත්තටම සමහරවිට is not everyone's choice right so that has to be regulated okay right please write those examples ඊට පස්සේ ඔය tax collect අපි දන්නවා නේද ගොඩක් taxes collect කරනවා through Inland Revenue Department lot of taxes so example VAT එක company tax මේ ඔක්කොම යන්නේ central government එකේ example VAT so you know what is VAT value added tax අපි මේවා ගැන කතා කරන we have a separate subtopic for those so VAT example VAT එක ඊට පස්සේ තව company tax and also there are some taxes through provincial council and specifically නැහැ ඒ වගේම rates අපි කියනවා මේකට council rate කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහලා සමහර වාරි පණක් වලු කියලා right council rates අපි in sinhala we say වාරි පණක් වලු right council rate අපි council rate එක pay කරන්න ඕනේ මොකද එතකොට තමයි අර garbage collection ඒවට ඔක්කොම ඊළඟට funds ලැබෙන්නේ so we are paying some a council rate නැත්නම් වාරි පණක් වල නැත්නම් අපි කියන rates කියලා rates Right, guys. So I'll give like another 1 minute. Then ඊට පස්සේ අපි එනවා අපේ අලුත් sub topic එක economic goals of the government. Economic goals of the government. Right, guys, I hope you are done with writing. Just raise your hand or just let me know if I'm still writing. And if I still any questions, doubts, clarifications, concerns, please do not stay muted. Right, we conduct this class as a group class. So you have that right to unmute yourself, because you know in some classes you don't get that option as well, right? Some options disable yes, but not here. So you can speak and express your opinions, right? Not just watching TV. TV බලනාගේ නෙමෙයි. මෙන්න අපි එනවා හරිනම් මේක අපි හරියට දාගමු. Yes, clear, right? How the government involved with the business. Our next topic, economic goals of the government. Remember economic goals, political goals නෙමෙයි. තුනෙන් දෙක ගන්න, ඊළඟ election එක win කරන්න, ඇමති මාරු කරන්න, ඒවා නෙමෙයි. ඒවා political goals. We are talking about the economic goals of the government, right? Now, forget about the government for a moment. As an individuals, we have goals, right? To a better education, a better life, better quality life. So likewise, increasing our wealth. So likewise, in a business, can you remember that? The goals that we discussed in a business, maximizing the sales, maximizing the profit, increasing the market share, the customer satisfaction, employee welfare. Right? Can you remember those stuff? There are some economic goals for the government as well. One of the government main economic goal as you can see, the growth of the GDP, right? GDP growth දැන් ඔයා දන්නවා මොකද්ද GDP කියන්නේ කියලා? Gross domestic product consists of all the agriculture products, industries and services. Lesson number 1 අපි කතා කරා. So then the GDP growth or the GDP growth rate, නැත්නම් අපි කියන economic growth rate එක ආර්ථික වර්ධනය. Can I ask you this question? Last year 2020, can someone tell me the economic growth of the country? We have spoke about this, right? Economic growth rate of the country for the last year. Any idea? $3.6, very good, but 3.6 plus or negative? Yes, very good. Yes, it's that's the first time in history after I think after so many years, a minus rate. So what do you mean by minus growth rate? It can economic grow වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඔයා කිව්වොත් අපි හිතමු economic 2020 වල 2019 $100 billion නම් grow වෙලා කියන්නේ 3.6, මේ අවුරුද්ද 103. පැහැදිලිද? හැබැයි වෙලා තියෙන මොනවද? growth එකක් නෙමෙයි minus growth එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අවුරුද්ද 100යි නම් මේ අවුරුද්ද 97 වගේ. කියන්නේ මේ total product එක අඩු වෙලා. So first time in history minus 3.6, right? So which the government failed to achieve one of economic growth rate. But they might say make it in COVID design, but it's not an excuse. But we see in the global GDP also it has a slow growth rate. But somehow so we had to face the minus economic growth rate. In මොකද්ද GDP එක කියලා කියන්නේ total production of a country, right, which is the GDP, and also to increase the gross domestic product, right? Businesses contributes a lot. Why? Because businesses are the entities who are doing the businesses in terms of the agriculture, in terms of the industries and services. And also, not only the GDP, but also the economic development, right? All the growth in all the human indexes, right? It's not about the total production. Everyone is fairly treated, no discrimination. Economic development path, not just that. For example, maybe a country like USA, country like Bangladesh, country like India, so they might have economic growth, but not the economic development. Right? So it should be a country where everyone can live peacefully. For example, if we see the set of countries like Australia, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, right? So those are the countries both achieve economic growth plus economic development as well. Not only the growth rate, but also the development as well, right? හරි. දැන් ඉන්න හැමෝම ටියුට් එකේ මෙන්න මේ විදිහට මම දාලා තියෙනවා ඔයාලට පැහැදිලි කිරීමක්. මම ඉතින් page number එකක් නම් නැහැ. අර additional note වල if you come across economic growth and development කියලා මම ටියුට් එක share කරන්නම් screen එකේ. Please come to the additional notes. Maybe there are additional notes. හරි බලන්න මේක හොයාගත්තද මේ page එක? මේ බලන්න එහෙනම් while economic development takes place through the continuous growth of the production process, in addition to that, the long-term growth of the human and social indexes, known as the development. එහෙනම් මේ product එක වැඩි වෙන එක විතරක්ම නෙමෙයි මිනිස්සුන්ට සමාජයේ හොඳින් ජීවත් වෙන්න chance එක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. හරි මේ බලන්න කොහොමද පහුගිය දවස්වල ලංකාවට මොකද වුනේ කියලා ඔයාලට පේනව නේද? 2015 ගත්තත් මම හිතන්නේ ඒක තිබුණා 4.9 or 5%. බලන්න last 5 years මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? So we had a 4.5 rate. ඊට පස්සේ 3.6 වුණා 3.3 2.3 මෙන්න ඊට පස්සේ සෑහෙන decline එකක් තියෙනවා minus වලට ගියා නේද minus 3.6. So please have an idea what has happened to our economy throughout the last 5 years. There's no economic growth at all in Naduvilla. Now what do you think about 2021? 2021 guys, the report will be published on 2022 April. Samana April like regular time to finalize this data. So we'll wait till April. 2021 වල report එක. ඒතර අපි බලමු කොහොමද economic growth වෙලා grow එකක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒ වගේම ඉතින් මේ විදිහට අපිට දාලා තිනවා get an idea ලංකාවේ GDP එක 80 billion dollars. ලංකාවේ GDP එක 80 billion dollars. ඒ කියන්නේ මුළු ලංකාවේ අවුරුද්දෙම product එකේ වටිනාකම කීයද? 80 billion US dollars. Right? එතකොට මම ඔයාලට කිව්වොත් ලෝකේ richest person ගේ wealth එක කීයද? Like Elon Musk is the richest person, close to I think more than 200 billions, 200 plus billion. Can you imagine that, right? And also Jeff Bezos, second richest person, 195 billion net worth. So they can even purchase country like this. They left some money. තවත් සල්ලි ටිකක් ඉතුරු වෙනවා නේද? මම හිතුවා even the Mark Zuckerberg yes 80 plus billion US dollars, right? So they are as an individual, remember, right? So this we as a country, our total production is 80 billion US dollars per year in terms of the last year, right? So these are like, I mean, one just to get an idea, right? So the value, right? හරියට එක තව information feedback දාලා තියෙනවා අපි බලමුද? Per capita GDP. මොකද්ද මේ per capita GDP කියන්නේ? Total GDP divided by the average population of the country. එහෙනම් තව ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මම මේ කලින් අහුව නේද? ලංකාවේ කීයද population එක? Average population එක ලංකාවේ ජනගහනය? What do you think? Any idea guys? ලංකාවේ population එක කීයක් ඉන්නවද? බලන්න ටියුට් එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා නේද? 21.9 millions. ඒ කියන්නේ close to 22 million දැන් අපි ලක්ෂ 220කට ආසන්න. කලින් තිබ්බේ කෝටි 2යිනේ. ඒක ලක්ෂ 200 මිලියන 20යි. දැන් මිලියන 21.9ක්. So close to 22 million. මෙතන තියෙන 1000 වලින් මෙතන දාලා තියෙනවා නේද? 21.9. So remember ලංකාවේ population එක 20.19 million. 21.9 million. ඒ කියන්නේ close to 22 million. ඒ කියන්නේ ලක්ෂ 220ක්, right? නැත්නම් කෝටි 2යි තව ලක්ෂ 2ක ආසන්න පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා. කලින් තිබ්බේ මිලියන 21යි. දැන් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා තව මිලියනකින්. So 21.9 million. එහෙනම් මේ total GDP එක මොකද්ද? 80 billion dollars බෙදනවා මොකකින්ද? Average population. මේක මේ හරිම amount එක නෙමෙයි. මේක vary වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරියටම කියන්න බෑනේ exactly population එක. ඒක vary වෙනවානේ. පැහැදිලිද? So this is the average population. මේක කවුද count කරන්නේ? the Census and Statistics Department ජනහා සංඛ්‍යාලේඛන දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මේ විදිහට ජන සංගණනයක් කරනවා. ලංකාවේ කී දෙනෙක් කියලා ගණන් කරනවා. එතන හැමෝටම කොහොමද ගණන් කරන්නේ? හැමෝටම එන්න කියලා අත උස්සලා එහෙමද? ග්‍රවුන්ඩ් එකට එන්න කියලා අත උස්සලාද ගණන් කරන්නේ? guys, what do you think? Yes, ඒගොල්ල ග්‍රාම නිලධාරි වලින් ඒක කලෙක්ට් කරන data. right? අවුල කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද මේ විදිහට ගමවල ඔක්කොම අරගෙන නේද? ඒක ටික කාලයක් යනවා. එතන ඒක population වෙනස් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒගොල්ලෝ කැල් කරන්න මාසයක් යනවා නම් මේ මාසෙ තුල vary වෙන්න පුළුවන්. පැහැදිලි නේද? ඒ නිසා average population. So the total GDP divided by the average population 21.9 million එනවාට එනවා average මේ total GDP එක බෙදලා ගිහලා තියෙන්නේ කොහමද මිනිසුන් අතර? අපි කියනවා ඒක පුද්ගල ආදායම GDP per capita කීයක් තියනවද එහෙනම්? ඩොලර්ස් 3000 ගාණක් නේද? ඩොලර්ස් 3682ක්. හැබැයි මේක හරි ප්‍රමාණය නෙමෙයි. රුපීස් වලින් නම් 683000ක් විතර earn කරනවා ඒක පුද්ගලෙක්. හැබැයි ඒකෙන් කියන්නේ හැම පුද්ගලයාම අවුරුද්දකට 683000යි කියලා. නේද? ඒකට වඩා ගොඩාක් වැඩි අයත් ඉන්නවා. ඒකට වඩා ගොඩාක් අඩු අයත් ඉන්නවා. right? ඒ කියන්නේ මාසෙකට රුපියල් 6 අවුරුද්දකට 6,83,000ක් විතරලු ලංකාවේ එක පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ සාමාන්‍ය ආදායම. right? අපි පොඩි comparison එකකුත් කරමුද? ඔයාලට පොඩි idea එකක් දෙන්න. What do you think? Other countries GDP per capita කියක් විතර වේද? ඔයා බැලුවොත් country like Australia, country like US, right? ගොඩාක් වැඩි. අපි බැලුවොත් GDP per capita SL හරි බලන්න කොහොමද මේක වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා ආට පේනවා නේද මේ chart එක. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ තියලා තියෙන අවුරුදු 2010 වගේ 2038යි නේද? එන්නනේ ටිකක් වැඩි වෙලා අපිට 2018 4059ක් තිබිලා තියෙනවා. නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක අඩු වෙලා නේද? කීයකට අඩු වෙලාද? 2018 4059ක් තියෙනවා ඩොලර්ස්. ඊට පස්සේ 2019 3852 වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ 3680 2020 දී. ඒක නෝට පැහැදිලි මේ විදිහට අඩු වෙලා 2014 2017 4000 පන්නලා තියෙනවා මේ විදිහට. හැබැයි දැන් ආයෙ අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා GDP per capita. අපිට ඕන පොඩි තව comparison එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතනින් වෙන country එකක් select කරලා අපි නිකන් බලමු ඔයාලට idea එකක් දෙන්න. country like Japan කොච්චරක්ද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ GDP එක කියලා. GDP per capita බලන්න නේද කොච්චර වෙනසක් තියනවද? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අඩු වෙලා නේද? ඩොලර්ස් 40000යි. අපි නිකම්ම පොඩ්ඩක් මේක කැල් කරලා බලමු. Right, to give you an idea about the rest of the world as well. එතකොට පුතා ලංකාවේ කීයද ඩොලර්ස් 3682යි නේ. අපි සාමාන්‍ය ඩොලර් එක 210ක් කියමු. ඒ කියන්නේ ওই ගාන එනවා. දැන් නම් ඩොලර් එක වැඩි වෙලා නේද? ඉස්සර ඔය 6 ලක්ෂ ගාන තිබ්බ ඩොලර් එක අඩුවට ගාස්ති. ඒ කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය මේක ඩොලර් හැපෙද්දාම 64,000 වගේ monthly income. අපි ජපාන් වගේ country එකක් ගත්තොත් ජපාන් වල 2020 කීයද? ඩොලර්ස් 40,000. so 40,193. 40,193 into dollar rate එක into 210 which is 8.4 million per year divided by 12. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ average මාසෙට ලක්ෂ 7ක් විතර. දැන් අපේ ආවේ අවුරුද්දටම ලක්ෂ 7යි ගාණක් නේද? ආයෙත් කොච්චර ඩිෆරන්ස් එකක් තියෙනවද? අපේ ආවේ මාසේ 60,000 ගාණක් නේ. අපි ගමු 65,000 කියලා. right? ඒ කියන්නේ ලොකු vary income එකක් තියෙනවා. right? ඒ නිසා GDP per capita also one of a measure. අපි නිකන් තව example එකක් ගමු. මොනාරි country like Australia. What do you think about Australia? Yes, Australia මත තවත් වැඩි නේද? 51,692 dollars. ඉතින් මේ විදිහට so as a country, right, the one of the government objective is to increase the GDP per capita. GDP per capita made the dollar, right? In 2020 dollars mid-year population. ඒ වගේම ඔයාලට පැහැදිලි කොහොමද මේ රේට් එකක් කියලා මෙතන පොඩ්ඩක් තව දාගන්න 2020 මොකද උනේ කියලා කීයක්ද 3.6 minus 3.6, right? Could you please complete that as well? If you face any difficulties, you can leave, right? I know a lot of challenges are there. No power. But please ask for the recording and go through. Right. Maximum 10 minutes. Right? Without getting power, so that schedule time is 7 to 8. Right. මොකද කරන්නේ අපි තව එකක් discuss කරමු. තව එක goal එකක්. Now are you clear about the very first goal? Right? Economic growth and the development. Can we highlight some facts? Yes, while economic development takes place through the continuous growth of the production process, in addition the long-term growth එකට අපි කියනවා development එක කියලා. හරි මෙන්න මම තව එක පොයින්ට් එකක් ගැන කියන්නම්. Full employment also one of another economic goal of the government. මොනවාද පුතා full employment කියන්නේ? නේද? ලංකාවේ සේවා නියුක්තිය full employment. The people who are expecting a job, yes, there should be a job for them. So that's why එහෙම නැත්නම් unemployment එක වැඩි වෙනවා. So there would be a lot of consequences where the unemployment increases. ප්‍රශ්න ගොඩාක් ඇති වෙනවා. එතනින් තමයි සමාජ ප්‍රශ්න ඇති වෙන්නේ නේද? Unemployment means so no income. So how they can fulfill their needs and wants. So they will ඊට පස්සේ තමයි සොරකම් නරකම් ඔක්කොම යොමු වෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා right to have a full employment in the country, that also matters a lot. හරි බලමු මොනවාද මම දාලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. Could you please highlight the stuff? Not only everyone wishes to provide their labor has been occupied in a service, but also situation where all the resources have been occupied in effective years. So along with the labor, other resources fully occupied. නැත්නම් කිසිම resource එකක් idle වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නේද? resource තියෙනවා use කරන්නේ නැතිව. එහෙම වෙන්න බෑ. තියෙන resource ඔක්කොම occupy වෙන්න ඕනේ. නේද? land labor, capital entrepreneurship ඒ වගේම mainly the labor. නේද? මිනිසුන් job එකක් කරන්න expect කරගෙන ඉන්නවා නම් එයා job එකක් කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි. ඒකට chance එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. So then only they also can contribute to the economy. Yes. Right. So apart from that, yes, fair income distribution, that is also one objective. දැන් පැහැදිලි නේද? ඔයාලට පේනවා fair income objective, right? ඒතර කොහොමද මේ total income එක මිනිස්සු අතර බෙදලා ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ කියන එක. So they need to have fair income. එහෙනම් ගොඩාක්ම දැන් ඔයාලට පේනවාද ලංකාවේ බලුවොත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඉන්නවා more than 683 per month වැඩි කරන. හැබැයි ඒක අඩු අයත් ඉන්නවා. So it is hard to have a fair income. At least it doesn't mean that everyone should have the same income. It says that everyone should have the access to fulfill their basic needs and wants. හැමෝටම ඉන්න තැනක් කැම බීම ඇඳුම් පැළඳුම් මේවා තියෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. So then only, so that's also one of a government economic goals, to provide a fair income distribution where everyone has the access to the basic needs and wants. Correct. So in terms of the economic stability, favorable international trade, I'll take up to next week. I'll take up to next week that part. So that's how, right? So in order to achieve the economic goals, yes, the government, for the government, the businesses helps a lot, right? So then rest of the objectives and plus the rest of the things that we'll take up to the next week. If you have any question, please let me know. And if in case if you had any difficulties during the session, please ask for the recording and complete those stuff, right? Thank you everyone for joining. We'll see you with the next session.